Hi there, this is Scott Smith, and I'm here for another Saturday service. It is July 27th. It is a Saturday. The moon is in Taurus, and I'm here to deliver some messages. So, I actually pulled the cards before we met today. It actually is going to help me streamline the process. I just wanted to sort of write some things out, put some notes down so that I was giving you something a little fuller when I delivered the message this week. You know what? As I was doing this, the card that fell out of the deck as I started this was the Tower. I'm using the Tarot of Light and Shadow. Of course it did. Of course it did. And this was on the heels of me looking at social media this week and thinking about some of the messages from last week and noticing some friends already talking about the Tower. The Tower has fallen. That was Byron Ballard on social media, various social medias from Twitter to Instagram to Facebook. I saw that there. You know, she wrote a great book called Earthworks Ceremony in Tower Times, and she has been talking about Tower Times for a very long time. I highly recommend that book. I put the link in my profile. I get no kickback from that. It's just a recommendation. I'm not paid for it, right? I enjoyed the work and I enjoy the person, and I just wanted to recommend that to you as a book. But if you just Googled Tower Times, you would get a lot of information there. So when I pull this card again, it is a reminder that things are still crumbling, things are still falling apart. What are the parts that really matter to me? I have a big write-up which I'm putting on the Patreon, which I've detailed all this writing. It's there for you. That goes with this video if you're really interested in reading that. I'm going through the synopsis of it here. So there are two things that we can focus on when we see the Tower. One is that this is an inevitability. This was going to happen. Things are going to fall apart. What's falling apart? Well, consumerism and capitalism in a very big sense. We don't have a lot of control over that, right? Like, we can't really put our hands personally on the wheel of that and be like, the world's going to go this direction now, right? But we can do that for ourselves. So when we see big cards, and there are 3 major arcana for this week, if I include the Tower, it's really bringing it back to yourself and focusing on your work and what you need to do and taking care of yourself. Of course, I'm under the influence of a Taurus moon right now, and my moon is in Taurus, so I'm speaking very practically and for ourselves, but I'm just going to lead with that. Last week we finished with the 8 of Swords. This was really about sort of deducing what the next step is, understanding that some good escapism could be in order, that could be helpful, but also to watch the escapism, like, you know, trying to just, exit the building while your problems are on fire. You know, you probably want to put that out. You know, that was sort of the message of last week. In light of pulling the Tower this week, I'm saying, you know, there's continual things that are showing up. There are continual things that are breaking down. This might be considered environmental, or this might be social political. This could be a bigger scenario which is happening around us. To be mindful of that the parts that we can influence are our own, and what we do within those things. You know, like, you can't control everything, but we can decide what our response is going to be. The card to start the week, so this is the one that shakes our hand and says, hello, I'm coming here today to your door to say this is what's coming. That is the 4 of Cups. I really love this. This is that little, like, it's like the mini moon in Cancer. And I've paired it with Euphoralite. I got this from Zuzu's Healing Arts. The link is in last week, so I'll put it in this week. This is an elevator of mood when I put these two together. I also threw in this darling little fluorite bird skull from my friend Sarah. Hi Sarah, if you're watching. You know, this is emotional stabilizer, right? So this tells me 2 things about the 4 of Cups when I first see it. One, this can help us really focusing on the luxuries of our lives and in really enjoying what we have and being really kind of homey and cozy. And also, this card has been called boredom and apathy in other decks, and I just want to point that out because this can also be sitting in your little puddle, you know, sitting in your little, like, dirt pile and, like, you know, making mud pies and, like, I'm not gonna, you know, like, you know, sitting in your little thing and, like, splashing in your own emotional stuff. It's really not a change maker. It's really just sort of, I don't want to say tantrumy, but it is indulgent in the other side of the emotional if it was luxury and enjoyment of personal things, it can also be boredom, apathy, and kind of the self-destructive natures of that. So just sort of watch that as the week starts. Midweek, if we had the mini moon at the start, we now have the moon itself. This card comes through, and I've paired that with Kyanite. I like Kyanite for a lot of things. It's a great communicative stone because of its blue nature, taps into the throat chakra, taps into that blue ray. But it's also a cutting stone. It's also a clarifying stone. So Kyanite can really help to clear the channel or like blow away the clouds. So if that Four of Cups at the start of the week is really sort of emotional pity party kind of thing, that moon energy sort of comes through midweek, and we're looking at, if we're in Taurus now, then that's going to be in Gemini, right? And then into Cancer. So when it moves into Cancer, it can really exacerbate that emotional or elevate the emotional. The moon is going through the wanting process. That means it's decimating. The energies are going dark. And there are notes about that in the Patreon writing post. But basically, looking at the focus of the crab, the little crustacean in this particular one, which I actually think is a lobster, and this one, and the dogs, right? And those two are telling us something about the nature of the moon's influence. One, we can be very focused and we can be very keenly tuned in to what it's doing and how it's affecting us, right? That would be the crustacean being like, yep, I feel that tidal current. It's pushing and pulling. Or we can be the dogs in that. One's got its hackles up, it's ready to attack, and the other one's like, no, like I'm very friendly, give me a biscuit, right? There's the way in which the wax and wane can pull us emotionally. So this card really teaches us to be mindful of that. So that start energy, right, with the Four of Cups at the beginning is sort of like, hey, I'm training you for what's coming up. Like I'm giving you a heads up. Like you could be enjoying this, or you could be in the pity party about this. Well, then the moon comes in, especially with that Gemini and then Cancer influence. And it says this becomes stronger, right? So the emotional push and pull becomes stronger. Be aware of that we again make the choice or we allow the influence, right? Like we could be conscious or unconscious about it. This is great because then the card at the end of the week, what is that? That's old Clutie. That's the horned one. That's the devil. We have the influence here of this final card, and I've actually paired this with iron. I think that would be a great piece to carry at the end of the week, and I mean like an iron nail, like go to your local occult shop and get like that rusty bit, like go onto your Etsy store and find that person who's selling like a true iron nail. Or if you can't get that, I'm using black quartz. I'm fairly certain this is treated, but I like the black nature of it, right? Because this is that absorbing, it's smoky quartz, which has been darkened, but it's that energy of the smoky quartz to really ground and release and draw it down and like pull out the excess that's not yours so that you really see your own, your own BS, really, honestly. Because when we get the devil, right, politically speaking, this is your great influencer who's like, don't look behind the curtain. Like this over here is like the most important thing for you to see and you should fear it. And if you don't do this thing, then all of these horrible things were happening. But I'm the only one who's going to make it happen for you. So you should vote for me. Like that's the devil energy, right? But this can show up for us again, personally, right? We want to be mindful of the things that are influencing us. We want to be mindful of the big voices that are telling us to look in certain directions because we don't want to be unduly swayed by them. We want to understand that the message of the week, from our personal emotions in the Four of Cups to the way that the emotional can be influenced by the moon to the way that people can tap into those powers magically, socially, politically, to influence us and be mindful of the influences of in our lives. So this goes back to when I first started recording those. What are you subscribing to, right? Who are you subscribing to? What are you tuning into? That's what I mean. I don't necessarily mean like actual subscription, like you press like and subscribe. Although thank you for that, because lots of people have done that in the last couple of weeks for myself. But actually, where are you going for your information? Because this is your sort of metaphysical subscription service. these people who are constantly affirming a certain thing for you, are they asking you to think for yourself? Are they asking you to make your own decisions? Are they asking you to do these things without trying to influence what you will see or the way that you should see it, right? That's the important thing to see when we see that devil card. So I would look at some information coming through at the end of the week that could be maybe impactful in the world, and the way that people spin it, I would watch that. But for yourself personally, it's looking at the way that you frame things. Because what the devil does is stand at the edge of the circle. He's at the place of the ring not pass. You shall not pass this point. And the test there is that, is the stuff from this that's coming up in the week, the Four of Cups and the Moon, is this stirring up stuff that we should have resolved, right? Because if it's not, the first thing we see in the darkness beyond the devil is that which is unresolved. We project it forward, right? So we see the horror, we see this, what we suspect, we see those things in the light at the edge of our perception in the darkness beyond. These are the specters of ourselves. We project these into that darkness. So the devil figure, really metaphysically, in its most positive sense, its most healthiest sense, is to say, are you ready to handle this? Because if you are, you're able to pass into the unknown through your own projections and sort of embrace the fear of that and be like, oh yeah, that was my bullshit. And if not, we get tangled in that, and it pulls us back into the cycle. So it references like the Wheel of Fortune. It represents justice, the scales of balance for ourselves. Did we really create change? Did we balance ourselves, right? Well, that may come up this week because there's a ring not pass coming. There's a guardian there going, are you coming through the gates of my initiation, which are my horns? You know, are you passing through this doorway into the, you know, the outer limits and finding something new, you know, going beyond into new territory? Or are you going to start playing with your own shadows again? And that's also fine, right? That's what we're here to do, is learn, right? As far as we can tell, live and love, but you know, there's a learning process involved here, and I really think there's an evolution process involved here, because if we're not changing, we're not evolving, then what's the point? You know, like, it's not just get mine, right? We're clearly need to work it out with each other, right? So if we're not ready for that, if we're not ready to sort of like touch that darkness, right, and really pass through to the other side and see that beyond the devil, what is the tower, right? Beyond the tower is what? The star. There is light there. We may not be able to see it yet, but the first test or the first challenge is, do we dare to pass through? And I mean this in a visionary, spiritual sense, right? You make your own choices about what you're ready to do. You know, there's not an indicator of a boogeyman here, but that may be personal for you. Maybe these things add up to something very personal for you, in which you're making big decisions personally for your life. You know, like, you get guidance on that. You know, like, don't base this reading on what to do, right? You know, make wise choices. But it really emphasizes that, are you ready to pass through fears into new territory? Are you willing to take that yes into the unknown? Or are you going to just cycle back into what you were doing before? And I would just look at that pattern this week. It starts very simple. The comfort at the cozy is this feeding you? Is this solace? The moon really pulling on dream and illusion? Are we being tugged? Are we choosing to flow? You know, and the devil, what's really influencing us? Is it outside forces? Is it unseen forces in ourselves? And are we ready to sort of make the shift into what those changes really bring? And big changes are all around us. That is the tower. These are the things happening. For the tower card, and it's really funny, some people will be like, what? Why are you recommending that for a stone? It's not a stone, right? Like, I'm using walnut. I put this on my altar. What you put on your altar, you call into your life, right? I put this on my altar because this is the hard shell of protection, right? It's also the ring not pass. It's the thing that we break out of, right? This is the seed potential inside it, but it's also wisdom, right? So I put this with the tower for myself, that there's wisdom to be had here. In the changes that are happening, there is always something to choose, because that's what witchcraft is choice. We're making the choice to do things. We're not blaming spirits. We're not blaming powers. We're not blaming energies. Oh, it's in retrograde. Oh, this is happening. Oh, because this, now I'm feeling this, and this is the choice that I have to make. All of that is the cycle before the Wheel of Fortune. And in the tarot, when we learn to stand and say, oh no, actually, I draw the circle in the sand right here and I cast a spell for something different. I draw this boundary and I say no to this and I choose something different. I draw this in and I call something anew that I want. We start to learn the lessons in the latter major arcana about what they're really about. And I'm seeing that here, that we have the devil, we have the tower, we have the moon. Those are in sequence with each other in certain ways. And they're telling us about bigger changes that are happening in the world. Our best handle on those is handling ourselves so that we show up and we're present, especially when other people aren't handling themselves and they're not present, and they're present more in the shadow dance of themselves or in the chaos of the moment. But just be mindful of that. Who's influencing you, right? We're always going to be influenced. Choose wisely, right? Pick illuminated figures, not influential figures, right? Pick, put a great spiritual leader that you really love that's great for you on your altar. Put a great humanitarian on your altar. Make it your screensaver on your phone. Make it your desktop on your laptop. Pick someone who does good things in the world, knowing that they're human, right? Knowing that they're human and they make mistakes. Nobody's pure, but that their work stands for itself. Find that great line of poetry. Tap into that energy of the star, which is beyond the darkness that the devil is presenting, and say, yeah, I'm pointed that direction. So whatever this looks like, whatever this next step is, I step into it and we see what happens next. Because I know that I'm oriented in the direction that I need to be. I know that you can orient in the direction that you need to be. It's within all of us, that star that's guiding us. So that's my reading for the week. It's a little bit longer than I had expected, and I'm just gonna go with it. If my hope is that you're here for it. So thank you for watching. This is Scott K. Smith. I'm at starandstonellc.com. You can find the full write-up for this at patreon.com/Scott K. Smith. That's SCOTT, the letter K, SMITH. I post these for free on the Patreon, so you don't have to pay to get them. You can subscribe for free and get them every week where I post them. Next week, I will not have a Saturday service because I'm preparing for a ritual at the UU Church, the Verdugo Hills. We will be doing our harvest ritual, the Lammas ritual, and this one's going to be a little dark, emphasizing some of the things that we brought up today because it is about harvest. So you can find out more there at starandstonellc.com. Thanks for watching. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be.